hello. Happy Monday. Marketing Advice Monday here in Get Booked Out. I'm so happy to be joining you guys. This is something, quite honestly, I look forward to every single Monday because I get to, there's Bella, our mascot. I get to hop on here and spend time with you guys and talk about things that I love. And it also means that Monday's over and we made it and we're 20% of the way through our week. And that to me is very exciting. So I am going to give people just a couple minutes if you are joining me live. I do ask that you just say hello in the comments. Let me know where you're joining from. If you are catching the replay, throw a hashtag replay or something like that into the comments so that I can make sure I catch any questions you may have as you're watching the replay of today's Marketing Advice Monday. If this is your first time joining live with me, these Marketing Advice Mondays are more in-depth trainings that I do every single Monday on some of the biggest questions I'm getting asked around marketing your private practice every week. Today is all about website strategy, which is something very near and dear to my heart, something that I love, something that I want to see private practitioners like you be successful in. So that's kind of what we are doing today. Thank you so much for being here. Let's jump in. If you are a private practitioner, you likely know by now that having a website is not an option. Not having a website is not an option. In today's world, in the environment that your ideal client is living in, the way that they find information and ultimately the way that they need to be marketed to in order to make a decision about therapy is very similar to how they make a lot of other decisions in their life as consumers. And that feels a little bit like formal, but the fact is that your ideal client is spending their time online, and therefore you need to be online too. And so for that reason, it is critical that you have a website that is out there working on your behalf. You cannot be spending your time as a private practitioner pouring hours and hours and hours into your marketing every single week because you're busy working with your clients, right? If your website is done well, then you can enjoy the benefits of someone, basically a salesperson or a front door for your private practice working for you, even when you're not, even when you're serving your clients, even when you're sitting down at dinner with your family. That is what a good website can do for your private practice. Like there is so much power in this. And being in the role that I am in, being a web and marketing strategist for private practitioners, I spend a lot of time looking at private practice websites. And as someone that is really familiar with what best practices are, what works and what doesn't on websites, I'm not seeing private practitioners use their websites to their fullest potential. And I want to see that changed. And so today is all about questions you yourself can ask about your website to determine if it's actually effective. And I hope you stick around to the end because I actually have a free giveaway, like totally free, to help you have a more effective website. So I do hope that you stick around until the end. These 5 questions I'm going to go through today are part of my actual signature 5-question framework that I use when I audit private practice websites. Generally, my audits are paid, services that I do for someone, but I want to just hand over these questions to you, walk you through each of them so that you yourself can sit down and look at your site and decide if you, are doing what you need to be doing in order to have an effective website. Chances are that you have spent a lot of time on your site one way or another. If you don't yet have one launched, you're probably spending a lot of time like playing with colors and getting the right pictures on there and writing the words for it and getting it set up in, with GoDaddy or Squarespace or whatever you're using. If you have been in private practice for a while, your website is probably something that's been a little bit of an energy suck just kind of throughout the life of your practice because they are time consuming. But the really nice thing is that if they're done well, you don't have to be in there tweaking it every single week. You don't have to be sitting there wondering, if I did this differently, would I get more clients? Because there are actually some very basic fundamental things that if your website can check those boxes, you can be confident that your website is effective and therefore you don't have to be spending, hours or minutes or whatever of your precious time in the back end of your site spinning your wheels and wondering why no one's calling. So if you aren't booked out yet, I want you to start at your website. That is where I want you to begin pouring in some additional energy in order to get booked out. But then after you do that, you will start to see results so that you don't have to be spending so much time in there. That is what today is all about. So let's dive in. 5 questions, my signature framework that usually people pay me for, I just want to give to you for free. The first question I want you to ask yourself when you're looking at your website, all of these questions, by the way, need to be through the lens of someone that has never met you before. Your ideal client, someone that you would love to work with, but doesn't actually know you yet, because that's the main audience we need to, be thinking about when we're putting together our website. So question number 1, can you immediately tell what I do? I want you to ask yourself that of your website. When you land on your website, studies show that within 8 seconds, someone is going to make a judgment about you. Your ideal clients are going to make a decision about whether or not they're in the right place and you offer any value. So that means that you have to really, really, really capitalize, right, on those 8 seconds. So when someone immediately lands on your site, they need to immediately know that they are in the right place. And the way that you do that is with very, 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 very clear language right there in the top of your website. We call that your hero. It's called that for a reason, because it is the hero of your website. It carries your website. So when you load your website, www.annawalkertherapist.com, in 5 seconds, can you tell what you do? It's called the grunt test. It's what one of my favorite marketers calls it. If a caveman landed on your site, would he know what you do? If he doesn't know that you're a therapist in Nashville that serves couples and those going through divorce, then we're not being clear enough. You need to communicate right off the bat what it is that you do. So that big area right when your website loads needs to be really precious real estate. Please don't waste it putting your logo in there. Please don't waste it with some really unclear, like woo-woo language. You need to say straight up, really, really clearly what it is that you do. Nashville therapists for couples. Something like that. That's not to say that you couldn't also include something woo-woo. It's not to say that your logo shouldn't belong there, but what you need to be really, really investing in is making sure that you're immediately showing what it is that you do so that when someone lands there, they know they're in the right place. So that's the first question, and that is a huge one. Does your website pass the grunt test? Can you immediately tell what I do when you land on your website? Number 2, do I show that I understand your problems? So you're asking this of your ideal client, right? So they're landing on your website, they're looking at it, maybe they're scrolling your homepage, they might click into your about page, they take a look at your specialties. Oh, she offers individual therapy. Wonder what that is. They take a look there, they come back to your about page. Are you communicating that you understand your ideal client's problems? When your ideal client decides to go looking for a therapist, right, they have identified a need in their own life. They don't care yet that you have been in practice for 15 years. They don't care that you use cognitive behavioral therapy or whatever that may be. They care that you get them and that you're an expert in solving their problems. So if you aren't showing them that you understand their problems, then you have to get clearer about that. And the way that I coach my clients in doing that is that you paint word pictures. I want you to use creative language. It doesn't have to be super long. You don't have to use, really long sentences and crazy words and lots of adjectives, but I want you to paint a word picture that shows the state that your ideal client is living in. Be specific about the pain points they're experiencing when they get up out of bed. What are they struggling with? What has led them? What is their tipping point, right? What has led them to look for a therapist? Call those things out. Make it very clear, I understand you, and therefore, because I understand you, I can help you overcome this problem that I'm talking about. If you are looking through your website and you're not seeing problems talked about, then you are missing an opportunity. You're missing an opportunity. Talking about people's problems doesn't have to be in a super negative lens. It doesn't mean that you just have to hound, and beat this dead horse that, oh, life is so, 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 so hard. Because you can offer some relief in the words that you use as well. But if you aren't first saying, hey, I get you, and here's why, and here's how, then you've lost them, right? Because they're looking for someone that's an expert in their problems. The example that we've used before, if you're looking for a neurosurgeon, if you need brain surgery and you land on a general surgeon's website that's talking about like the pancreas, then you're not in the right place, because how could they understand the issues that you're having with your brain? Whereas instead, if you land on a neurosurgeon's website who's talking about the headaches that you're getting and why it's hard to remember things and you're stuttering when you talk, he gets me. He's the expert I'm looking for, right? So I want you to think, am I showing someone that I am the neurosurgeon of their problems? Or am I just being a general, maybe I can help them, maybe I can't? If it's the latter, then I want you to get really specific by painting word pictures and showing them that you understand exactly what their life is right now that's leading them to look for you. All right, number 3, am I talking about myself too much? I see this on private practice websites way too much. Just like we talked about in the previous one, right? When your ideal client goes looking for a therapist, they have identified a need in their own life. That means that they are extremely selfishly motivated. They want a solution. They don't care, that you are passionate about working with people like them. They don't care that you have been doing this for 15 years, that you reside or that you work in this area of town. Those things do matter to them, but up front in the really important parts of your website, like your homepage, your about page, and your specialty pages, you need to be talking about them, not about you. So one really easy kind of way to take the temperature of how you're doing on this question is, how often am I saying the word I? If you're saying the word I more often than you're saying the word you, then you're talking about yourself too much. I want you to first talk to your client instead of about yourself. The way that I actually frame an about page, which is a really critical page that you think should be about yourself, right? Actually, it needs to start by talking about your client, believe it or not. The framework that I actually use when I write about pages for my clients is I start talking about the client, and then I start talking about the client and the therapist, and the client and the therapist, and eventually the therapist. The about page actually isn't about the therapist until the bottom, because it needs to first connect with the needs and the motivations and the kind of the underpinnings of your ideal client as they're looking for you as a therapist. You don't need to lead with I, because they don't care about you yet. They care about them. So I want you to meet them on that turf. I want you to know that, to think about what it is that they're motivated by and what they need to hear, and then get to the point where you can say, hey, I'm an expert. I've been doing this for so long. I'm credentialed. You can trust me. But you're going to be so much more effective in building that trust if you actually talk to them first, if you actually build some rapport with your words first, and then get to talking about yourself. So that third question, am I talking about myself too much? That can be kind of a hard one, because you feel like your website should be about you, right? But your website is about your clients. It is about your clients. And that is where I see the good private practice websites stand out from the not good ones. It's the ones that know that their client is the hero of their story, right? That they are not the hero. They are the guide that gets their hero from where they are today to where they want to be. These poorly performing private practice websites are way too focused on the therapist and not on the problems that their ideal client is experiencing. So really, really think about that one. Am I talking about myself too much? Number 4, do you know what my words mean? Again, this is something I see just too much on private practice websites, and quite frankly on a lot of other industry websites as well. I have experience across a lot of industries in marketing. I've done website strategy for all types of businesses, and this is not unique to private practitioners. The problem here is that we're too close, right, to what we do to talk about it in a really clear way. So we can get really, really into clinical talk. We can start using jargon, cognitive behavioral therapy, attachment therapy, IFS, whatever that may be. Your ideal client doesn't know what that means. And if they don't know what that means, if it is even a little bit confusing to them, you are preventing them from wanting to work with you. And the reason for that is because when someone lands on a website and needs to make a decision, if someone is looking for a therapist, there's a barrier they have to cross, right? So they're right here and they need to get over here and they have to cross this barrier. Well, the more confusing we make it, the more questions we raise in their mind, the higher that barrier gets. The more work you yourself and your website have to do, and they themselves as the potential client has to do in order to get over that barrier. Whereas if we can use words, and if we can use words that are super clear that we know our clients understand, if we can avoid words that we know are just more therapies, right, are more jargony and more clinical, we can lower that barrier. We can make it easier for them to understand. The reason for that is because it makes you approachable. If you use terms they don't know, it makes them feel like they're not in the right place. Like, I don't know that. It calls out an insecurity in them. And the thing about private practice, the thing about therapy is that there is already some anxiety and some insecurity often in your potential clients as they're looking for therapy. We don't want to increase that, right? If there's any way we can avoid that, we want to. So I really want you to think about, am I using any words, literally any words that my clients don't know? Now, if you need to talk about the type of therapist that you are, if being a systems-based therapist or a solution-focused therapist or a CBT therapist is important to talking about why you're valuable, then use those words and then immediately explain what they are. I'm a cognitive behavioral therapist. This means that XYZ in very clear, simple language. But don't just don't just bullet out all of your modalities or all of your certifications and expect them to stand on their own, because all you're doing is just raising questions in your ideal client's mind and raising that barrier they have to cross in order to decide that you're actually the therapist that they're going to feel comfortable sitting down with. You need to be approachable and likable. And the way that you can do that is by using language that they will understand, by using words that are clear. So really, really avoid any type of jargon or clinical language on your website, and you will immediately connect in ways that a lot of private practice websites aren't doing. And it makes me so sad every time I see it happen because it's such an easy fix. So think about that. All right, last one. Am I showing what the next step is? I've actually done an entire Marketing Advice Monday just on this concept. The concept here is that we cannot assume that our potential clients know what we want them to do next. We have to tell them. The analogy, the story that I've used to describe this before is, if we think about your website as an invitation to a party, like, working with me is really awesome. Your life is going to change. You're going to sit down, you're going to be really comfortable with me. We're going to build a relationship. You're going to, have the tools you need to be successful. All of these things. If you're talking about this great party that you want to invite them to, and then you don't invite them, are they going to come? They're not going to come to your party. You have to ask them to come. It is okay to be upfront about what you want them to do next. And what you want them to do next should be as tangible and as clear to them as possible. So we are going to avoid at all costs words like learn more or get started. Instead, we want to use something really descriptive and really active. Schedule your free 15-minute consultation. Call me for a confidential first session. Anything like that. Book your complimentary first appointment, whatever that may be, but use really, really, really clear and active language, and put those, you call those calls to action, right? Put those buttons, those calls to action for them to take the next step everywhere on your website. Someone on your website should be able to make a decision about you. Yes, that's the therapist I want to work with, and be able to take the next step no matter where they are in your website. They should not have to go looking for the button. They should not have to click into just your contact page. It should be immediately available to them at any time to go ahead and take the next step. So oftentimes you'll see a call to action in the nav or that top menu on a website. Your call to action button should be represented multiple times as someone makes their way down your homepage. There needs to be one on your about page. I want you to invite people to the party. You've done the hard work if you've checked all the other boxes that we've talked about today, of inviting them to this party, of communicating why you're good at what you do, why they can trust you, why they should like you, what it is that you offer them. And then if you're leaving them hanging by not saying, go ahead and schedule that call, like, let's do it, let's work together, you're missing them. They're gonna drop off. We cannot assume that our potential clients know what we want from them. And so I want you to be really, really frank with yourself as you look at your website. Does someone know what to do? If it's not immediately clear to someone what that next step is, what you offer as the way to initiate this relationship and get on their way to the results you talk about, then there's an opportunity for you to be clear, and there's an opportunity for you to connect with people and see conversions on your website, actually see results on your website that you weren't seeing before. And it's as simple as adding a couple of buttons. So those are the 5 questions. Let's run through them again. Number 1, can you immediately tell what I do? Number 2, do I show that I understand your problems? Number 3, am I talking about myself too much? Number 4, do you know what my words mean? And number 5, am I showing you what the next step is? So all of these questions, like we talked about, are through the lens of someone landing on your site for the first time, an ideal client that you would love to work with, but just doesn't know about you yet, right? What I want you to think about doing this week is taking these questions to someone you trust. Maybe a colleague who hasn't looked at your website in a while, maybe your spouse. You probably showed your website to your husband right when you launched it, and maybe he hasn't seen it. I want you to take these 5 questions to them, someone that you trust, that you know will be honest with you, and ask these things of them. Ask them as they look at your website if they can answer yes or no. If there are pointers they might have around this. And the feedback you get will be really, really valuable. I've done this with my own website. I had my dad look at my site. My dad gave some harsh feedback, but it was good. It's what I needed, right? So take those 5 questions to someone that you trust this week. And like I mentioned, I also have a free giveaway. Like I said, these website audits are usually paid services that someone will pay me for, and we'll sit down and I'll spend about an hour reviewing their website. Then we'll have a call together, a coaching call, and I'll walk them through my recommendations, what I found, what they can do to make changes. I'm going to give one of those away for free. All you have to do, if you're interested in getting a website audit from a marketing expert and then get a free website coaching call with me, which is 30 to 45 minutes where we sit down on a Zoom call. I will have already looked at your website. We'll walk through it together. I'll screen share as we go. I'll give you recommendations in a written document where you know exactly what to do in order to start seeing results from your website. If that's something you're interested in, totally for free. I just want you to pop your URL into the comments. If you're catching the replay, that's totally okay. I'm going to go ahead and close this at the end of tomorrow. So as long as you're watching this either Monday the 11th or Tuesday the 12th, you are eligible for this free giveaway. All you have to do is enter your URL in the comments. I will complete this audit this week, and we can schedule our coaching call for next week. And you can get some expert advice on your website. If you're finding that you're not getting booked out, you're not getting response and traction from your website that you worked so hard on, then let's change that. Let's change that. I want to help you have an effective website. And so by doing that, or in doing that, I want you to just enter your URL into the comments. I will randomly select a winner for this website audit and coaching call. We will hop on, and I cannot wait to hear the results that you, if you're the winner, find, and also you, if you're just putting these 5 things into action. Like I said, this is my signature framework. Like, this is what years and years and years of website and marketing strategy have taught me, these 5 questions. Good websites come down to these 5 things. So if you can go through your site and be honest with yourself and get some honest feedback around what you're doing on your site and what might need some improvement, you'll start to see results. And your website will eventually be that 24/7 marketing salesperson front door, living on the internet for you, doing hard work while you are busy doing what you do best, which is serving your clients and enjoying your life outside of your practice, and letting your website pull its weight by bringing in clients in a way that is super authentic and super effective by showing them exactly what it is that you offer. I hope this has been helpful for you. If you have any questions, please pop them into the comments. It looks like we already have a couple people putting some URLs in here. Let me make sure I didn't miss any good questions. Awesome. Yes, Cindy, exactly. Let them know what to do, what to expect, and what their role is. 100%. Amazing. Looks like we got a couple URLs. Awesome. All right. Felicia, you let me know when your website is complete, and maybe we can have a coaching call once it's live. All right. Thank you so much, everyone. Pop your URLs into the comments. I'm looking forward to this free website audit and chatting with the rest of you throughout the week. I'll talk to you soon.